Pierce, the drone wreckage should be right ahead.
Copy that.
How long have you had claustrophobia?
It's not an issue. I spent some time in a confined space, that's all. Long story.
Panic attacks aren't an issue? Why did you take this mission?
Figured it was worth the risk. Wanted revenge.
It's rather incredible the way Pierce can keep conversation going even while he's under fire. They could have actually made that part of his character, that he's strong in most situations, but in that specific situation, specifically when he's in tight spaces, he's suddenly not very strong anymore. That would make his weakness a lot more meaningful, I think.
I got a visual on our drone wreckage.
Copy. Hostiles?
A few of the robot crabs. Engaging.
This is the first time we have to fight one of the Uriel gliders while we're underwater. It's not that much harder to kill, it's just slightly more difficult than if we try to fight it above water. We do want to try and take out the walker before we take on the amphibious grenadier. The amphibious grenadier takes far more shots, and we don't want to get shot in the back while we're trying to take him out. Thankfully, his grenades are very easy to dodge one-on-one. We just kind of have to barely move left or right, and they zoom right past our head.
Crap. Velasco, the data core is missing.
IHS soldiers must have taken it to their base. Keep searching. Enemy reinforcements inbound.
Visual on hostile. Contact, scout drones.
Maybe it's just me, but it seems the further in the game you get, the harder the ghouls are. For example, I have no problem fighting multiple ghouls near the beginning of the game, but I have so much trouble with this particular encounter. Speaking of which, you want to back away as soon as you see them. Having extra stun gun ammo is handy, but you're never going to have enough to take all of them out. You might be tempted to hack one of them, but that's a very dangerous idea. There are definitely some situations where it's the best course of action, but this is not one of them. There's just too many of them and they fire too rapidly. You'd be dead before you even converted it. Something I do wish the game did is that when the enemy got close enough, regardless of whether you were already holding the aim button, it would switch to lock on automatically instead of making you let go of the aim button and then click it again. Making the transition happen on its own, like right there for example, would have been a lot easier, but I had to tap the button instead. Granted, there are actually some times where the lock-on is a hindrance.
Can't reach the water plant directly.
Proceed through the hangar.
Orders received.
Hopefully we won't encounter that situation until the very last location in the game, though. That's usually where it comes up.
The data core from IHS drone is somewhere in the hangar area. Try to seize the core and upload the data.
I'm on it.
Sometimes the characters speak in fragmented sentences, like Velasco did just there. Maybe they weren't allowed to talk to the audio director or something, but you figure you'd want to mention that you weren't talking in complete sentences. Maybe the developer would be interested to know that.
I'm in the hangar.
Be ready. Aerial hostiles inbound.
Here's a new enemy type. It barely does any damage to us, but when its shots hit the ground, it makes the ground shake, and the screen.
They blew the hangar door. Multiple
Here's a new weapon, the Railgun, or the Raw Gun, as the game spells it. It kills most enemies in a single hit, and it's capable of penetrating light cover. I would show that off, but we're gonna need it in just a second for something else. It is not the weapon we passed up last episode, by the way. That is a very different gun. It has its own uses, too. So there's an amphibious grenadier right here. And we don't want to use the railgun on any of the normal enemies like we normally would, because we want to be able to kill this guy quickly. We will see the railgun the way it was meant to be used much later, but for now that's going to have to do. I originally wanted to show it off properly right here, but that wouldn't be the smart move. And what I'm trying to show you is the best way to get through the stages, not the way the developers wanted you to. I don't want to lie about how the game works or anything like that. Because if, God forbid, someone buys the game after watching me play it, and they try to play it and I showed them a terrible strategy, that makes me an awful person. You might have noticed that we haven't used blind fire once throughout the entire game. There are actually a couple situations where it's necessary or at least useful. A couple, but we can bypass those.
Understood.
And we bypass them using the railgun, of course.
The core. Transmitting data packet.
Receiving. You need to check the Pescadero water plant. It's on your way to extraction. I trace IHS activity up there.
Copy that.
Yes, I did die here as well because I was not conservative enough with my ammo. There's a new enemy type here. It doesn't get mentioned, but there is. Oh dear. The new enemy type uses the commando, just like we do. They don't use the grenade function, though. Just the bullets. They also take far more hits than your average soldier. Headshots still do more damage to them, though, unlike the rocket amphibians. Man, calling the amphibious grenadiers rocket amphibians make them sound way more interesting. There are a lot of aerial attack drones from this point out. They often appear halfway through a shootout just to distract you from the enemies that are your main threat. This particular battle isn't too tough as long as you move over here at your earliest convenience, because this is a much better position to fight from, and there's an ammo box over here. We already picked it up, though. I'm being really liberal with the rocket ammo on our commando, and that's because I know the layout of these stages well enough that I know when to be conservative and when not to be. And that means that I know from this point on we start getting much stronger weapons than just the commando's rockets or grenades. So we don't really have to worry about that anymore. We did pick up an ammo box, like I said, which means our railgun has more ammo too. And again, we're going to waste it on a grenadier. Simply because that's the easiest way to kill him. Don't worry though, in this video, the railgun will get its chance to shine. Properly. I am always afraid of extra enemies, like this guy right here. It pays to be cautious because sometimes the enemies just don't shoot at you for whatever reason until you get really close. And I don't know if that's the AI being smart or if the AI being stupid. But either way, it kills you pretty fast.
Main tunnel's blocked. There's debris by the gate.
There must be an emergency door to the comm service system nearby.
Advancing.
I've got the data packet. Pierce got the job done.
Fascinating, General. Now, can you explain why I have yet to receive the sample?
We're...
Furthermore, I've only received fragmentary data. I want what I've paid for.
Pierce will dismantle the IHS operation, and you'll get exactly what's coming to you.
Wonderful. Just try to do your damn job.
So that cutscene gives us a glimpse at the mysterious person who hired us. And she sounds pretty upset.
Service corridor.
Presumably she has a reason to want this mysterious sample she was talking about. I'm sure it has something to do with IHS as well, otherwise why would we be here? Actually, why are we here?
The area is littered with explosives.
They don't make it clear what Pierce is doing at this point. I know what he's doing because I've seen the rest of the cutscenes. But his motivation right now is really unclear. I mean, he's not doing this out of loyalty to Sterling. That much is, very, very clear. This entire section consists of 2 really long underwater hallways. They're not really all that difficult. I just find it difficult to see what's happening because the water is so murky. That might be intentional, though. So we have to wonder, what is this mysterious sample she's talking about? Which, yes, does get explained, don't worry. The data is apparently important as well, but she was really quickly, no, fuck that, where's the sample? So that must mean this mysterious sample we've yet to see is the main reason we've been hired. I left in that death scene to show you that it's really easy to get yourself stuck in this hallway, which you don't really get to see if you play it well. Excuse us, buddy. But yeah, it's really easy to die in here by just backing up into a pillar, and then you don't have time to move before you get shot in the face with a rocket. For how broken the game's design is, something it always makes you do is be very careful. That's really the only rule to Deep Black's game design, is to be super careful no matter what you do. Being aggressive in any combat situation is almost always a guaranteed death. And I learned this the hard way when I really wanted to push through the final stage to just get the game over with. And that had the opposite effect that I intended it to. You do have to take cover, you do have to be methodical. If you don't, the game will kill you, regardless of what difficulty you're on. I'm really not a fan of this second hallway. It's really just the same as the first one. There's a couple walkers, well, more than a couple walkers, some mines, and an amphibious grenadier, just like the last one. That's a super minor complaint, though, because this area isn't broken in the slightest. You can play through this part like a normal human being, and you won't encounter much trouble. It's probably not a good sign that that's a line of commentary I've had to repeat multiple times across this Let's Play. Honestly, I'm just saying whatever I can to mask the fact that my sanity is being ripped to shreds. The amphibious grenadiers are surprisingly good at strafing, especially underwater. So we're going to kind of play a game where we swerve around this post over and over until he dies. This entire Let's Play is actually a meta-commentary on abusive relationships. I'm in an abusive relationship with this game, and I need help. I can't stop coming back to it, no matter how badly it hurts me. The water combat sections as of right now are still much easier than the ground combat sections. Believe it or not, that will change. There will be a point late in the game where the water combat sections will be far more difficult. I didn't die there that time, the game just put a loading screen there. How difficult this upcoming battle is depends entirely on whether you saved your railgun ammo. If you did, then congratulations! This is actually a pretty fun fight. If you didn't, this is one of the hardest fights in the game. Absolutely. There are a lot of explosives just for effect. I don't think they hurt you or anyone else. They don't exactly look bad. Again, these things don't hurt us very much, but ignoring them is still a bad idea because, like I said, the ground shakes when they shoot. I believe you can kill the aerial drones in 1, maybe 2 shots using the railgun, but that is a massive waste of railgun ammunition. Up here is where the battle actually starts to get hard. Past these sandbags, I mean. Up there where the truck is with the ammo,
They're trying to block the bridge.
that's where it gets
Can you
difficult.
get through?
Affirmative. Engaging hostile.
There is a rocket launcher next to the ammo over there, but we don't want that. It takes way too long to shoot and leaves us way too open. Instead, we're going to use the railgun finally for its intended purpose. If you don't have the railgun, this section will be trial and error hell. Every second you peek your head out, you will be near death. But we do have the railgun. And when it's coupled with copious amounts of ammo, it is an all-access pass to wherever the fuck you want to go. That being forward. It's important to always save your railgun ammo for when you need it most, and that is definitely this situation. I'm hyping it up a lot, but you can see right here, it's an absolute death machine. There is nothing you can't handle when you have enough of it. I mean, just look at that. We're absolutely destroying these guys. The noise it makes reminds me a little bit of a t-shirt cannon. I'm not sure why that is, but this would have been the area where we would have needed to use blind fire if we didn't have the railgun. It is unfortunate that the railgun does not appear as often as I would like it to, because if the railgun were always with you for the rest of the game, it would make even the final stage tolerable. Oh yeah, this seems like a good time to mention, when you load up a chapter from the main menu, it just decides for you what guns would be best. You don't get to choose your loadout or anything. If you did, that might make the game a lot easier. So of course they don't let you do that.